There was a time I felt like life was just happening to me, like I was surviving but not really living. But after over 30 years of mistakes, wins, detours, and grace, I have picked up few life lessons that have truly shifted the way I live and love. And these are not just things that I have read in books, these are truths that I have wrestled with, that I have had to cry through, prayed over, and lived into, and I'm sharing them with you today, not because I have everything figured out, but because I know that they might just set someone else free today. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Augusta, and if you're new here or a returning subscriber, I am so glad that you're here. Around here we talk about what it means to grow into your best self, whether you are a mom raising kids, whether you're someone pursuing faith, or a woman trying to build a life that truly feels like you, whether you are finding your voice again or building something new from scratch. This is your space. You are in the right place. Before I dive into these lessons, I just want to say this, that life doesn't always give us a manual. It doesn't hand us a manual. Most of what we learn by living through mistakes, through wins, through delays, through detours, and even moments that we would rather forget. But the beauty of life is that every experience can teach us something if we pay close attention. These aren't just lessons that I read in a book, that I picked up a book and I got those lessons from. These are truths that they came from real moments. Some were painful for me, some were really stretching, some were beautiful, and I hope that they speak to you as much as they really shaped me. Now let's get into it. Lesson number 1, life is a risk. Now, growing up, I often heard the phrase that life is a risk, but I didn't quite or fully understand what it meant until I started living more intentionally. For a long time, I played life really safe. I made calculated decisions. I avoided things that, often scared me, and often waited too long to act because I was afraid of what could go wrong. But the truth is that the real danger lies in staying still. Every big decision that I have made, from my education to moving countries to starting again as a mom, came with risk. I didn't always have a guarantee of the outcome, but I have learned that it's in those uncertain places that we often find our truest strength. I remember when I left a job that looked really stable on paper but was slowly draining me. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew I couldn't keep betraying my peace. That step of faith created room for new opportunities, even though the process was uncomfortable. Now, life would never give you 100% certainty, but staying stuck isn't safety either. It's self-sabotage. Step out in faith. Even if you stumble, you will move forward. Taking risk isn't always easy, but it's often where life and growth begins. Speaking of growth, this leads me to lesson number 2, which is nothing comes to us by chance. Now, when we see people succeed, it's easy to say they are just lucky. But behind every lucky break is often years of work, hard work, unseen tears, rejections, consistency, prayer, learning, and growth. We don't always witness the behind the scenes sacrifices of these people, or that these people made. We don't see the nights they cried, the failures they've had to bounce back from, the investment they made that didn't yield returns right away. Even when I started seeing or gaining traction in my personal growth and my purpose journey, some people assume that it all came suddenly, but they didn't see the years of showing up when no one was actually watching me, the hours I spent learning, or the nights that I spent speaking and seeking clarity from God. My life didn't shift by chance. It shifted through grace meeting preparation. Now, what we call chance is often preparation meeting divine timing. Keep building. Even when no one sees it yet, your time will come. It's so tempting to call success luck, really, but there is always more beneath the surface. That leads me to the next lesson number 3. You can only go as far as you want to. Now, this one is quite personal to me because I am someone who loves learning. I listen to podcasts, I read books, take notes during church, but for a long time I wasn't really applying any of it. I had notebooks full of wisdom, yet no transformation. Why? Because desire without action is just daydreaming. It hit me one day when I realized that I was actually becoming more of, a consumer of growth and not really a practitioner. I was actually motivated but not moving. And no matter how many videos I watched or how many messages that I listened to, my life didn't change until I started doing the work. So I began setting small actionable steps each week, just one thing or practice that changes everything. And over time, these small shifts created momentum. Now, you can't outsource your transformation. This is one thing I like to say to people. People can guide you, but the journey is yours to walk. Be willing to do the work. Motivation is great. Every one of us needs it, but without action, it won't take you anywhere. Which brings me to something I learned about visibility, and this is lesson number 4. You are too broke to not be visible. I used to cringe at the idea of visibility. I would see people posting daily, sharing their work, talking about their wins, their routines, and everything. And what I think was, why so much noise? But as I grew, I started to understand something really powerful, that visibility isn't about noise, isn't noise making, it's strategy. Now, whether you're building a career, growing a business, or pursuing purpose, people cannot support what they don't see or what they don't know exists. I had skills, I had stories, I had impact, but I was hiding, and the truth is I couldn't afford to. Now, when I worked in corporate, I noticed something. Those who got recognition, who were offered opportunities, weren't always the ones who did the most work. They were often the ones who communicated their value the most clearly. That changed my mindset forever. So I stopped waiting to be perfect. I started sharing my ideas, my wins, and even my lessons, not for the attention of it, but for alignment. And gradually opportunities found me. Now, you are too gifted, too called, and also too necessary to stay invisible. Visibility is not vanity, it's still worship. You need to shine responsibly. Showing up matters more than you realize. And through all of this, I have found that faith plays such a crucial role, which brings me to lesson number 5. That always put God first in all that you do. Now, if there is one truth that has never failed me, it's that my life only makes sense with God at the center of it. I had numerous moments where I relied on my strength, my strategy, and my networks, and even my intelligence, and still ended up empty. But every time I have slowed down, leaned into prayer, and allowed the Holy Spirit to guide me, I have seen clarity and peace beyond my own understanding. Now, it doesn't mean that life gets easy. It means that I am not doing it alone. From deciding what jobs to take, to how I show up as a wife, as a mother, and as a friend, and as a daughter, to even how I run errands, inviting God in all of this makes the difference. His presence gives me perspective. His word brings alignment. His spirit gives me wisdom. Now, you're smart, you're strong, but you are not meant to do life alone. Anchor your steps in God and let Him direct your plan. Having God at the center of everything has truly been my anchor. But no journey is meant to be walked alone, which brings me to the next step, or the next lesson. Lesson number 6. Everybody needs a helper. Now, no matter how independent or resourceful you feel you are, life was not designed to be done alone. Now, every great person that you've either talked about, you've either admired, or you wished to you were like, was once helped, heard, or guided by someone else. In my journey, there have been women who prayed for me and friends who really encouraged me when I was ready to give up. Mentors who gave me a chance when I had nothing but potential. My husband who is constantly supporting me. Helpers don't always come wrapped in perfection, but they show up exactly when you need them. And guess what? Sometimes you are also someone else's helper too. I've learned to pray to God, not just for strength, but for divine connections, for God to send me the right people at the right time, and that when they come, that I receive them with gratitude and humility. You don't need a crowd, but you sure need a community. You do need a community. Pray for your people and pray that you are one also to other people. We all need support and guidance at some point. And speaking about beginnings, there is something powerful in embracing the early stages of any journey, which brings me to lesson number 7. Don't despise the days of your little beginnings. Now, we live in a world where they celebrate, quick wins and instant results, but the real growth, the real purpose, it's built in the quiet and unseen slow days. There were times in my journey when I felt like I was behind. I'd look at other people with booming businesses or thriving careers, and while I was still figuring things out, I felt really ashamed of, my smallness. But one thing I know, one day as I was journaling, it hit me really hard. Everything great starts small. A baby, a seed, a vision, and even those small beginnings are not meant to be rushed. They are to be respected. I remember when I thought about launching my consulting work, I didn't have a fancy website or a strong following, which I still don't have. I just had a message and a desire to help, and one person came, and then came another, and then came another, and slowly it began to grow. If I had waited until I felt ready, I would have missed the beauty of watching something unfold from the ground up. Now, your beginning doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be obedient. Honor your now. It's preparing you for the next big thing, because these small things, these small starts, they build the foundation for big things to come. And sometimes that foundation is built through setbacks and failure. Bringing me to lesson number 8: don't be afraid to fail. Now, this one has been such a breakthrough for me. For so long, I was really terrified about failure. I avoided it or tiptoed around it and second-guessed every decision that I felt might lead me to failure or embarrassment or rejection. But the truth is that failure is a teacher, and sometimes it's the only way, the only one that teaches you what comfort would never have taught you or would never teach you. Now, one of the biggest lessons I have learned came from a failed project that I poured myself into. I had high hopes, invested time and money, but it flopped, and I cried. I questioned everything, but after the tears, I made a review of what went wrong. I asked hard questions. I really got honest with myself, and that failure taught me things that no course or any podcast would have ever taught me. Now I see failure as a feedback, not the end, but as a redirection. You don't grow from what you avoid, you grow from what you walk through. Let failure teach you not to torment yourself. Failure is actually one of the greatest teachers, but while it's important to learn from the past, it's also crucial not to get stuck there. Now, this brings me to lesson number 9: don't dwell on the past. We all have a past, mistakes we regret, moments we wish we could rewrite, but staying there, reliving old shame, holding on to guilt will only keep you stuck. There was a season, I kept beating myself up over choices that I made earlier in my life. I felt really disqualified from doing meaningful things, but one day during prayer, I was reminded even that the people God used most in the Bible had past. Moses was a murderer, Rahab was a prostitute, Peter denied Jesus, and yet grace rewrote all of their stories. So I began to do the same. I forgave myself. I learned from the past, but didn't let it define me. Now, your past may explain where you have been, but it doesn't decide where you are going to. There is grace and there is healing. Let it go. Letting go of the past frees us up to build the future. And as we build for others, there is one final lesson that I really hold to my heart, which is, as you build for others, build for yourself. This one is quite close to my heart, especially as women. We are often taught to pour into our kids, pour into our spouses, pour into our jobs, pour into our ministries, and what serving is noble. You can't pour from an empty cup. I had a moment where I looked around and realized that everyone was moving forward and I was standing still, not because I wasn't capable, but because I had spent all my time building for others. I never really paused to ask myself, what am I building for myself in this moment? So I started small, reading a game, taking courses, creating content like I am doing, investing in my own healing and growth. Not because I was being selfish, but because I mattered too. Now, whether or not you want to start a business or become a public figure, this lesson is simple. You deserve to grow too. Even if you're building for someone else, build something for yourself too. And I want you to realize that you are a builder. Everybody is a builder, but don't forget to build your own foundation. Your dreams matter. Make room for them. Investing in yourself is not selfish. It's actually very, very essential. And that is why every step you take to grow, even the smallest one, matter. Now, these are 10 life lessons that have truly shaped who I am today. Some came through joy, Others came through hard, humbling moments, but everyone has pulled me closer to clarity, peace, and purpose. And if anything I shared today spoke to you, please know this: you're not alone. We are all evolving, learning, and actually trying to do life more intentionally. Let me know in the comments which of these lessons stood most to you, or what's one powerful lesson that life has taught you and that you now live by. If this video encouraged you in any way, please do me a favor: like, share, and subscribe. It helps us, to reach more women, to reach more people who are quietly searching for meaning in the midst of motherhood, in the midst of ambition, in the midst of identifying and understanding their identity. And if you've ever felt like you are not ready to start something new because you're still figuring things out, you need to watch my next video, which is why you don't need to have it all figured out. I'll be sharing real stories, honest truth, and encouragement to help you take that first step, even in the presence of the unknown. Until then, keep showing up, keep growing, and always remember, you don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin. Until next time, I remain Augusta. See you on my next video. Bye.